accessible for all.
Please be seated. Roll call, please.
Okay. Mr. Shi,
Here.
Ms. Mohin Patel, Ms. Peng,
Here.
Ms. Conway,
Here.
Dr. Chen,
Here.
Ms. Podofsky,
Here.
Ms. Madakar,
Here.
Ms. White,
Here.
and Mr. Burrell Patel.
Here. So, opening statement, the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Edison Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, place, and thereof posted in the Board of Education and administrative offices. Copies of the notices were sent to the Home News Tribune and Star Ledger on January 5th, 2021, and June 2nd, 2021. The public may participate at regular meetings in accordance with the bylaws and the applicable state regulations. Before we go to our regular items, I just wanted Dr. Bragan to say a couple words of Dr. Caparo. He was the superintendent out of our district, and he talked to a lot of the administrators and a lot of the staff over here. He was a big influence to a lot of people and a mentor to a lot of the folks. So, Dr. Bragan.
Thank you, Board President Shi. I first got to know Dr. Caprara when I was a student here, as a high school student in the 10th grade, and he actually taught business classes and computer classes back then. And he was just a person who always inspired you to do better. At that time, he had been a previous football coach, the only one to win a state championship in our district in 1976 at Edison High School. But over the years, I got to know him on a professional level as well, as his career, and he ascended the administrative hierarchy and became first the director of adult education, and then ultimately culminated when he was a superintendent here. He was the type of person that inspired loyalty in those that worked for him, but he also recognized in people and saw things that not everybody saw. And he had a generosity of spirit that really helped you to grow and become all you're capable of becoming. I personally owe a debt to him. He gave me my start here as a supervisor, however many years ago, encouraged me to continue my pursuits. And I never imagined in all of my days that I would somehow be the superintendent here in a seat that he once held. But they had his memorial service today. There were hundreds of people there. And he had a really long career in Edison, and he impacted a great many of our people in this town. He was a longtime coach at Uppsala University for football as well, and saw many of those people that he coached over the years, young men who had careers both in academia and otherwise. And just a great person, and I appreciate Board President Shi giving me a few minutes. He's one of the truly inspirational people that there are literally hundreds of people today that are indebted to him for his generosity and for his support along the way. So kudos to you, Dr. Caprara, and rest in peace, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you. And we also have a Dr. Capraro's scholarship fund.
Yes, we do.
Right, so his legacy stays in this district. Now let's go through the regular agenda items. Dr. Bragan.
Yeah, on the administrative report, if you would see first up, we have our student recognitions. Normally we would do those in person at the public meeting on Tuesday, but in light of the pandemic as it transpired over the year, we have a video put together, a montage of all the students that are going to be recognized. They will get their certificates as well. So that'll be presented on Tuesday's meeting, and there'll be a resolution for that. After that, you have some annual administrative appointments. I'm not going to go over all of them. You can see that they're listed there as the biosecurity plan, crisis management plan, the pandemic plan. Unfortunately, we know that too well now, right? Our ADHERA plan, which is related to our buildings and grounds, our affirmative action, Title VI, Title IX officer, that's our HR director, Dr. Aldarelli. Our anti-bullying coordinator is Patrick Hassan. Our bargaining units, our 5 collective bargaining units are represented there for all of our additional units. Our board secretary on an interim basis is Mr. Greg Brennan, who sits on my right there. Our compliance officer, designation of the school safety specialist at each school, that's a requirement. Our grants coordinator, Maria Lopez, who we hired a year ago. Hazardous communication officer is Mr. Kalibas. Indoor air quality designee, Mr. Kalibas again. Integrated pest management coordinator, Mr. Kalibas. The Middlesex County, New Jersey School Boards Association representatives, we have selected the same representatives we had last year, Mrs. Conway and Mrs. Podofsky. Our Oprah designee is me currently, and our treasurer of school monies is Ann Gluck. If you go to the next part there, the annual readoption of our policies and bylaws. By law, we have to readopt those on an annual basis, so that's the resolution for that. We have a resolution for summer hours, which will begin after the meeting on the June 30th and run till August 27th. Our organizational chart, we renew that on an annual basis. There were no changes in that since the last time we adopted it. And we're asking to change the meeting in August that was scheduled for August 24th to August 17th. Unless there's some issues with that with other board members, we'd like to make that change. Curriculum and instruction, you have our professional development there. And then after that is our pupil special services report, which is our out-of-district placements. And then the professional services, if you take a look at, there's quite a few appointees there. Those are people that we put on our board agenda to provide services. We put a bid out, an RFP, a request for proposals, and they submit to us, we can offer you this service as a speech therapist for such and such a rate an hour, or an occupational therapist, or a psychiatric evaluation, or one-to-one instruction, homebound instruction, so on and so forth. We're not going to use all those vendors, but we get them all approved, so we have the opportunity to use them should the need present itself according to students' individual needs. So that's somewhat lengthy, and I wanted to make sure people know that those people aren't all hired, but they're approved, and they're used on an as-needed basis.
Dr. Bragan, which one is up for the translation? I sent you an email, I think, but maybe.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Which one is for the translation service?
Which item?
For the professional services.
Which item?
I would not know that. I'm just asking question. Which vendor would be for translation services?
I don't think there's transportation on this.
No, not transportation. Translation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Translation.
I'm sorry. We do use the Learning Tree, which is on Oak Tree Road, for our evaluations when we need to get them done in different languages, and they provide a variety of different languages. As far as individual translation services, Indus translation is listed there? Is that the question you had? Number
What page?
45?
45. Indus translation. Okay, I think that could be it. Yeah, this is the one. Thank you.
Okay. We do use others too, though. I know we use for bilingual evaluations that, in different languages, especially for some of the students that are coming from other countries. And if there's one there that we don't have, we would get them approved if you know of anyone or if there's a concern.
Dr. Bragan, I had two questions.
Sure.
So my first question is on the organizational chart. What does the dotted line mean?
All right, let me pull it up so I can look right at it. The dotted line is in reference because they're not really employees of the district,
Okay.
right? And yet they do report, the board attorney as well as the auditor reports directly to the board, but then shares the information with the superintendent too. As you know, the board attorney, by the nature of the position, it's the board's attorney. But almost all Board of Education attorneys works with the superintendent in more of the daily communication, but they do answer directly to the board, and they do report to me as well. That's what the dotted line's for.
Okay, my second question here is that I see that the business administrator is directly reporting to the Board of Education, but I thought that the business administrator reported to the superintendent only.
We've had that listed like that as the business administrator and board secretary reports directly to the Board of Education because the relationship with the business administrator is almost on par with the superintendent. While I am the chief academic officer in the district, there is that relationship with school business administrator, I think that was like that when I came, to be honest with you.
No, I don't know, because I always assumed that you were, the superintendent is the only one who reported to the board. I was not aware that the business administrator also reports to the board. That's why I asked that question.
In many districts, the business administrator is viewed almost in the same capacity, and sometimes we have to remind the business administrators that they do work for the superintendents, but that's the nature of the position. But they do work intimately, as you remember. I know Mr. Brennan's working as an interim capacity, but when Dan was here, he would regularly communicate directly with board members and have that interaction. So it is almost a parallel position with the superintendent.
Okay.
So actually, if you look at the lines, there's a line coming down from superintendent to all the other people. That is a direct reporting line. That is for the business administrator for their day-to-day business functions. The lines that are coming to the Board of Ed line is for the board secretary position.
That's right.
So there are two lines over here. One is from superintendent, direct to the BA.
So I would just suggest kind of a change, which is, I know in our district, we have the same person as the board secretary as well as the board, business administrator. But if we can have like two boxes, one is board secretary and the other is business administrator, and the Board of Ed line goes to the business secretary, and then it does not go to the business administrator.
If the board is okay with that, I have no
I mean,
problem.
I don't know.
I have no problem
I'm
making
just
that change.
asking. I just thought that, so that's
Yeah.
why, yeah.
It's better for me. We can make that change before we vote on this on Tuesday's meeting if the board agrees.
Excuse me, Mohan, do you have a question?
No, I said it's basically the same thing. You don't really need to make that change, to be honest with you.
Well,
Right.
excuse me, it's no back and forth. You have your comment section where you actually have say, okay? Thank you.
I think the point is there are some districts where that position is separate, and the districts in which I've worked, it's the same person typically. So if my opinion matters, I don't see a problem separating those two out, but I defer to what the board's position is.
Any other
think that-
comments before we go to Greg? Okay.
Okay.
BA.
You're up.
Actually, I just had
I'm
one more
sorry.
question. One more question, and this question is for the lawyer. When we change the date of the board meeting, do we need to vote on it, or we can just change it just like that?
I don't know if I have a mic, but,
No,
Right in front of you.
you have
okay,
your special mic.
okay. I believe the board is going to vote on this at the next meeting, the change in the schedule.
But her question is, do we normally do that?
Can we make a change without a board?
Without
vote?
voting on it?
It's essentially a change to the annual schedule. It should be done by the board.
Okay.
But we didn't do that for tonight's meeting.
No.
Generally, it should be done right now. Of course, special meetings can be called. That's another process that would not require a board approval.
Graduation, yeah. Maybe we couldn't have.
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Huh? Any other questions before we move on? Not you. Yes. go ahead.
There are a lot of resolutions there for this June meeting, so I'm going to try and summarize as best I can. We're going to have the May 5th special meeting, budget hearing minutes, the May 20th and May 25th minutes as well, the board secretary's report, the treasurer's school monies for May, the 21-22 finance designation resolutions for banking, for travel reimbursement, tax shelter annuities, all the different vendors who are financial companies. Three, the financial resolutions include the transfer of funds, transfer of current year surplus to capital reserve, revised purchase of Apple MacBook Air computers, the contract for services through Rutgers, the State University, the submission and acceptance of American Rescue Plan, elementary and secondary school emergency relief funds, the acceptance of the following New Jersey SIG safety grant, the applications for IDEA and preschool grants, the applications for Title I, Title II, Title III, Title IV grants, the Safe Schools Integrated Pest Management Company, the cooperative bid for toner and ink cartridges, the award of the bids for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning for the Lincoln School additions and alterations, the rejection of the bid for masonry and asphalt services due to the modification of the specifications, bid renewals for boiler cleaning, boiler services and maintenance, building materials, maintenance and repair of district food service equipment, printing for the high school graduation programs, yearly school calendar, and so on and so forth. The RFP for speech, language, physical, and occupational therapy services. The amendment to the on-site clinical services agreement to Rutgers Biomedical and Health, and the contract for services with the Educational Services Commission of New Jersey. The approval of the subscription busing and of the standard operating procedure and internal control manual. The appointment of Alamos Insurance Group as the broker of record for health. And the contract to renew the New Jersey School Insurance Group. The appointment of DMR and USA Architects as architects of record. The appointment of the athletic physician, the chief school physician, and school physician. The appointment of Educational Data Services as the cooperative purchasing consultant through the Educational Services Commission of New Jersey. The appointment of the board's food service management company. The appointment for website design services and computer services, computer software services. The submission of E-rate. The appointment of the Altice Lightpath, Cablevision Lightpath, New Jersey for networking and internet access, the approval of the athletic training plan of CARE, the approval of property and casualty insurance premiums with the New Jersey School Insurance Group, the 21-22 health insurance premium equivalents, prescription equivalents, and dental premiums, the approval of the tentative tuition rates for 2021-22 school year and for home instruction and integrated preschool tuition rates, the authorization to pay annual dues to the New Jersey School Boards Association for the 21-22 school year, and approved interscholastic athletic programs through the NJSIAA. The list of anticipated contracts to be renewed, awarded, or to expire during the school year, a donation of $4,292.45 from the James Madison Primary School PTO for the purchase of turf for the special education courtyard. One non-public school security aid service order. Obsolete items no longer functional for use in the district, and then the bills list and the monthly transportation report for activity buses, regular and special education bus bids and renewals.
All right,
Can we ask questions?
pretty good. You finish it up. Yes, let's open up for board members. Any questions?
Anybody?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can go? Okay. I know I've asked this before, but I'm going to ask it again. The designation of the official newspapers. Now, I know those are 2 hard copy newspapers. Is there ever been an official online newspaper that we also deal with? Because I know I don't get the newspaper anymore in a hard copy. Do they also put it online as an official site to give us the dates?
Well, we do also post it on our district website.
And that fulfills
Yeah.
the designation of being official?
Yes, I believe
Okay.
so. Yep.
Okay. The other thing, tentative 21-22 tuition rates. That's if someone from the outside comes to our school? We do that?
That's correct, right?
The tuition rates, they're part of the budget. So when you submit the budget's offer to the state, it's broken out by different class categories and things like that. It would be the rate we would charge if we accepted other students from different districts.
If
If we did, yeah.
do we?
Off the top of my head, I'm going to say I don't know of any, because that would be tuition that we'd be getting in, and I don't remember dealing with that revenue.
Yeah.
But what happens is we send to other districts that have special needs programs that we don't have. I know there's a couple of public schools, and they would charge us the rate according to their budget and what the specifications be for that particular class. It's also used for comparative purposes when they do the total and per pupil costs, across similar districts, that are K-12 districts, when they get those numbers right from our state budget.
Okay. And the New Jersey School Boards Association membership, I know it was 26,000. What is it this year?
I don't know that off the top of my head. I have to get that
I'm sorry, I didn't
information
ask
for
you
you.
before. I just
That's okay.
missed a question mark.
That's okay. I'll get that information to you.
It is mandatory, though, Ms.
Yeah, I
Conway.
know.
So we don't have a choice.
Teresa Ward
Yeah.
fought that for years, but I just wanted to know if it had gone up, because I know it was like 26,200.
We'll find out.
It should come
We'll
down.
definitely find out and get back to you.
The last year was like no service, right? So the per student rate, we also use that to, if we find students who are out of district, we use that based
Correct.
on that, right? Yeah. Okay, any other board members for Greg? Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry. So I have 3 questions on 3 topics. The first one is the auditor. I understand it's professional, so we don't need to go for competitive bidding, but did an advertisement go out? What was the process of selection?
We did put out an RFP for that, and we had one person who submitted a bid, as you can see. That's the firm there. And it's former Hodgkin and Morris that merged with PFC, is it? And the rate they put in was $67,500, I believe, if I remember that off the top of my head. They were the only one that put in.
Okay. My second question is on item number 30, appointment of broker of record. I believe it's Alamo for insurance as well as risk. So for the risk insurance, I see that there is a standard 15% broker compensation. Is it the same as last year and the year before that?
It is.
Okay.
Their compensation is, the 15% is the industry standard for that. If you can see, for the health benefits, it's capped at $240,000. That's what it was last year as well.
Okay, yeah, that one I saw. And then finally, for the food services, like I don't see the list of the other folks who applied and what the details were there for those people.
How many applied?
There are some detailed stuff, because it was not a open, what you call it, we did not open the proposal publicly, so that information we can talk in closed session.
Okay.
There are a total of 5 vendors who applied. Chartwell, Aramac, Whitson's, I'm sorry, yes, Whitson, Marshall, and Pomptonian. And, they're, big companies, small, regional companies. So, we can talk about the
Okay.
detail, because the numbers, the other vendors do not know who their competitors provide the numbers, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other board members? Any? Okay. Now we're moving on to board member open discussions. So I'm going to go this way. Moen?
Thank you, President Shi. First and foremost, I want to thank the superintendent and all the principals and all the faculty that did a tremendous job on the graduation of our kids this year. It was an outdoor event. You guys did an amazing job. It was well done, and we got a lot of praise for that, and we want to make sure that we do this year after year and have it open door like this. Thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Conway?
I just want to mirror what Mr. Patel just said. The graduations last night were, you can't hear me? Wow, I never heard somebody say that.
No, it's the people online, they always sometimes.
No, I would just like to mirror what Mr. Patel had said. The graduations went off smoothly, and I personally thank Dr. Bragan for changing it from Tuesday to Wednesday. Mother Nature was with him, and each graduation was very well taken, and it's probably one of my best days of the year as a board member, and I truly appreciate what all was done. Mr. Ross and Dr. Shalop did a phenomenal job on running it excellently. And I thank everyone that was involved with the graduations and this whole school year. And Patrick, I'm awaiting the outcome. I haven't seen it yet.
I saw it. I saw it live a little bit.
No, I spent 6 hours today going over my agenda. Thank you very much.
I think Mrs. Conway should also be commended for not only attending both of the graduations like many of the board members did, but for changing her attire to suit the school colors at John P. Stevens and as well as Edison High School.
That was a highlight. Okay, you done?
Are you done?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, Carol.
Okay. I was not able to attend the graduations for medical reasons, but that is one of my favorite days of the year. And for probably 20 years, I have watched both graduations, since they've been videotaped, on TV, and watched every single child graduate, which I will do as soon as I'm able to get to them. But I also, today, now that school has completed for the school year, want to give my heartfelt thanks and limitless pride in the combined efforts of our students, parents, families, teachers, staff members, leaders, and the town for supporting us to get us through this very challenging year. We did it again. Hopefully we don't have to do this again. But we've had a lot of practice, and we've seen a lot of things, 999 ways not to make a light bulb, and came up with a few on how to do it the right way, and we will be much better prepared. And I have to publicly thank Dr. Richard O'Malley for all the bad things I said about him when he filled our schools with computers and Promethean boards and electronics and online learning when I was trying to teach children to read. And I didn't think we had to go whole hog, but it sure was nice when faced with the pandemic and all these other districts were saying, we have to buy Chromebooks for every child in the district? What are we going to do? We were ready. And I did let him know, and he has responded, that I'm sorry for all the things I thought about him for computerizing our students. Okay. Thank you to everyone.
Okay, Mrs. White.
Okay, it was my honor to be part of the graduation ceremonies at both schools. They are an amazing group of young people. I wish you all could have been there just to see it. You know, they've been through such a tough time this year and good part of last year, too. But look out, world, here they come, because I think they're ready for just about anything. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Pan? No? Dr. Chan? Okay, Sherry?
So I'd just like to echo what other board members said. I was also there at both the graduations. It was beautifully organized, and congratulations to all the students who graduated. It was really a tough year. I mean, to have a senior year largely remote. I'll just read a quote. This is, when my daughter graduated, this is something that the professor spoke, and I'll just read it, and this is for all the students who graduated this year. Bring along with you, wherever you go, the rigor of inquiry, the willingness to challenge, the readiness to listen to those who might have viewpoints different from yours. May you have the courage to embrace the unknown, the luxury to follow your passions, the audacity to defy your odds, the ability to put your thoughts into action, the humility to accept failures, and the insight to strike that balance. Congratulations, everyone who graduated this year. Thank you.
Okay, Bureau.
So I have an update about one of the special needs organizations. It's called Play With Me Autism Foundation. They hosted a very successful walkathon event at Edison High School last week. So a bunch of differently abled kids, youngsters, they sang songs for the Father's Day. They were trained by all volunteers of the foundation, and it was attended by many people, including Woodrow Wilson principal and vice principal. They also have an organization which is Make With Me. What they do is have all the special need children from the community make soy-based candles which burns longer and cleaner, and it's been sold in the marketplace to raise money for those children in the school. A very good event that went very well. I would like to congratulate the wonderful students of James Monroe Elementary School for creating an awesome mural from mosaic. It's so incredible because they juggle between in-person and remote learning and all the challenges that we have. This particular school year, it's an amazing combination of very intellectual ideas that they brought in the in-person remote students. The message that they put in for the mural was our roots, which displays diversity, kindness, respect for others, and it's a great job by the students, teachers, Mrs. Tofaro, Mrs. Callahan, the vice principal, and the principal, Mrs. Tofaro. Students learned to create mosaics over the Zoom in person, and the mosaics were returned back to school by the remote students, and the in-person students worked on grouting and other things. So, really incredible job. If someone ever goes to James Monroe, they will see that in the beautiful garden of James Monroe. And for last but not least, for the graduation, thanks to Dr. Rose, Dr. Shalap, and every single staff member who worked so hard in putting wonderful graduation ceremonies together, and all the incredible children. It was some kind of a year, and they all made it all the way. Also, thanks to all the educators and staff members of the school district. Thank you to help the district navigate this entire year, last year, half of last year and this year. Thankfully, we now find ourselves in a healthier place with many COVID-19 restrictions lifted. We are all here on this table and not downstairs without the mask right now, so that itself shows the testimonial of that. And on top of it, we have the graduation, schools hold their proms, performances, championship games, all that in person again. That is truly something to celebrate. A renewed purpose, personal and professional growth, and community are among the important takeaways from this time. So whether everyone is off to Jersey Shore or in a day trip to the city, or that long-awaited vacation that everyone is dreaming about, we want everyone to know, all the staff members, children, teachers, parents, that we appreciate everyone's unwavering efforts, and we hope that everyone enjoys some much-deserved time off, and all the very best to all the graduates for their future endeavors. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So I just want to echo that, congratulations to all the class of 2021. You guys did a good job in the back. I was watching the live 5,000 miles away yesterday. So, good job. Just a couple quick items, Dr. Bregan. Some of the parents were talking about out-of-district students, identifying out-of-district students. So can we have some kind of a report at the next meeting, just that, how many cases we investigated, how many was identified, and so on. And
Absolutely.
Next meeting, yeah. If we don't have it, we can do it at the following month as well. The other things, I just want to comment that I saw some of the parents, they were commenting about the use the school field, especially with the cricket being played there. The message from the board is very clear that our students have first priority. So when the students are at play, the adults needs to just let the students play. So that's very clear. If we have issues with that, I like the parents to contact us, so we'll try to see what we can do to resolve that, okay? The schedules of the cricket games is posted on the website, is that correct? Yes.
That's
so,
correct.
Those are the time that they're allocated to play, but if there's any school teams or having practices and so on, the school students has the priority. So that's just want to make it clear. Okay, now we're open for public comment.
One more question I have.
Okay,
for
yes,
Dr.
go ahead.
Bregan. So, Dr. Bregan, during the budget, we discussed about in June, sometime in June, we'll go over how much money we have left over for us as a surplus this year. So you have a number for that?
It's here.
We do. We discussed it at the Finance and Facilities Committee meeting. It's anticipated, again, everything has to be closed out as we end June 30th. If you see, there's a resolution on the agenda to place up to and not over $15 million into capital reserve projects. So it could be as high as 15 million. It's going to be somewhere in that ballpark. And all that monies will be placed into capital reserve to work on projects and things to address our overcrowding, as everybody knows is, so prominent right now.
Okay. And for the insurance, so the question keeps coming up about the limit for stop loss. If you want to go over that one more time.
Yeah, I know the self-insurance, this question has come up a few times. So for individuals, our stop-loss insurance, that's also part of what the insurance broker put in there as one of our premiums. It's set at $300,000 per individual. So an individual's medical claims exceeds $300,000, the insurance kicks in, and we no longer bear the brunt of that cost. And then they'll reassess that on the end of the year of whether that overall premium for that should go up or down, depending on how many cases that we have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other board members, any other comments before I open up for public comments? Sweet. I see you. Okay. Now we open up for public comments. Okay. You want to go first? No, I'll let Maria go first. Ladies first. Ladies first. I see you. I'll call you.
Thank you. Maria Orchid, 83 Jefferson. First, I would thank the board for the meeting today. I'd like to invite everybody to Amboy Avenue on Saturday, June 26th, as well as there'll be something on June 27th, from 12 noon to 7 p.m. It's the Flower Walk. There will be trucks there, the band's there, people will be walking up and down. Oh, please notice the 4 pianos that were painted by artists of the Edison Art Society, and that will be Saturday and Sunday. The next thing is the fireworks at Lake Papiani on July 4th. There'll be music around 7 o'clock, and the fireworks will start around 9. My next suggestion, I took a look at the calendar for next year. If we could please mark what the holidays are, not just winter break and spring break. We would appreciate that. I didn't see at the end of this agenda, when is the next meeting? Well, besides next Tuesday, I meant like next month, what the meeting schedule is. I was in the gym at Herbert Hoover for the voting, and it was very, very hot. I was wondering if we could work on the airflow for next year when the students come back, to make sure there's adequate ventilation in the gyms as well as in the classrooms. I was wondering an update on esports, how that's going. I understand it'll be an after-school program. We're very interested in what programs you might be using, such as CSGO or R6, if you have any updates. I saw an article regarding James Monroe alumni students that went back to Middlesex College to do a walkthrough of where they were years ago when James Monroe burnt. I was wondering, is there any kind of partnership that Middlesex College has with elementary students that can show them when they work hard and get good grades that they can attend Middlesex College? Any update on the J.P. Stevens baseball field? I know previously we were talking about the safety conditions. And also there's a sidewalk on Edison, I think it was on the other side, where there's no sidewalk. So I was wondering if you're going to be fixing that before September. Will the students receive free lunch next year like they did this year? And again, congratulations to all of the students, the teachers, and the staff for all their hard work this year. Thank you.
Okay.
You have a couple that I remember.
Yeah.
Thanks, Maria, always for your comments and your positive thoughts on our students and things. The esports is, I don't have the, some of the stuff you mentioned about R6 and things. I'm so old, Maria, I don't even know what that is. But we do have our staff that are working on it. Right now we're focusing on the construction project that's going to happen at the Edison High School Library, making sure that's set up and running for the esports arena. As far as the logistics and the gaming and all that going on, we're working with staff on that, but I don't have an answer. So again, and I really don't even know what you asked, but I'll get that for you. Regarding the John P. Stevens possible turf field for their baseball field, The Finance and Facilities Committee did agree that we should look into that and see what the costs would be for all that, for the installation. I met with the architect today on this and other projects, and there's a concern there about the environmental impact because it's surrounded by wetlands. So we're submitting for a DEP approval, Department of Environmental Protection. When we get that information back, then we'll know whether we can proceed with that site, putting it on that location.
Free lunch.
The free lunch will be for all students for the entire next school year. So any student that wants a lunch, as they did this year, that executive order came from the federal government, so that'll be for the entire school year for next year.
And the sidewalk.
The sidewalk at Edison High School, I'll double check that with Mr. Ross. We meet with the principals. We actually met with them in December as we planned the capital projects to include in this year's budget moving forward. And off the top of my head, Ms. Orchid, I don't remember if that was one of them, but we'll find out. If it's not and it's an emergency and a safety issue, we will definitely take care of it.
Yeah, the next meeting is July 20th. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, Joyce.
Good evening, and congratulations to all the graduates, because the year 2020 was a very hard and a very stressful year. So I applaud everyone who had a hand in it, who had something to do with our children graduating and going on to college and going on to other careers, because they also have other careers other than college at all. So I'm going to ask a few questions. I'm asking about the air quality in the, I guess, elementary school and probably Edison High. I mean, how is the air conditioning? Because if we're overcrowded as is, and as the climate, it's crazy because it was hotter in May than it's ever been. So I just wanted to know that when the temperature reaches a certain degree, do we have the students on half day? And are we going to do something about the air quality, like adding air conditioning and stuff to our schools? Since we don't seem to have enough money to build some more schools right now, I figure since all of the kids are over there crowded in the school, that would be it. Number two, will we be going back to the rack next year?
Okay. Any other questions?
Okay, one more. Okay, I noticed, I heard everybody talking about 5 lunch bids for schools like Chartwell's and some others there. Now, if you don't go along with Chartwell's, are the people who work for Chartwell's, are they guaranteed a job if you become up with a new vendor? Because, and will they be working on the elementary schools to make them more suitable to give lunch to each student, that we don't have it all, in one plain area, that our students will be able to enjoy lunch? Let me see. I'm not even going to talk about that because they'll think it's political, so I'll leave that alone. Okay. No. No. Oh, so when we're talking about the out-of-district students, we're talking about the tuition for the out-of-district schools, or what you're talking about? No? Okay. Okay.
Let us.
Okay, all right, okay. I just wanted to know about the out-of-district, because I know about out-of-district placement, and I heard some people saying giving up names and stuff, and I know with students, you only can give up initials. You can't really give up names because they're all minors. So, thank you very much.
Okay. So, air quality?
Yeah, I think the question wasn't as much air quality, I think it was temperature. And I appreciate Ms. Schiff-Friedman coming and committing the town council to paying for air conditioning in all the schools. I appreciate that. Oh, that wasn't what you said? Oh, I'm just kidding.
That's on the resolution for next meeting.
Obviously, if we could air condition all the schools and get it done instantaneously, that would be best for everybody. That's a significant cost. We do have some additional monies in the ESSER funds, 2 and 3, that we are allocating for air conditioning and HVAC in the schools. As you know, we have 19 schools. I think almost all of them are at least 50 years old, except for James Monroe, which is air conditioned. And that would be a significant capital outlay. I want to say $50 million, I'm guessing. I don't know exactly what that would cost to do all of our schools. And it would probably take 2 or 3 years because each classroom has an individual unit ventilator. Then the mechanics behind that would have to be changed in every classroom in the district. It is something we're looking at, and it's not something that's going to happen overnight. And I don't disagree with your assessment of the climate, that it's definitely warmer than it's been. Traditionally, we don't have a number. Like, we don't say if it's 92, everybody's going to be an abbreviated day. But we do take that into consideration, and one of the things, there's a few things we look at is the overall heat index, which is, you know, a combination of the temperature and the humidity. And in the past, we have had abbreviated days when it got up to the 100-degree range, and it was very uncomfortable. We had 1 or 2 days this year that what I would say was very hot. I know on those days I tried to visit all the classrooms myself, so people don't say, you know, I'm the white gray-haired guy that sits in the air-conditioned ivory tower. I did go in the classrooms. They were warm. They weren't comfortable. But in my mind, they weren't unbearable, and I was wearing a mask and a suit. But it's a concern, and it's a long-term plan that I think we want to address. The question about the rack was a really good one. It's funny, as the board members that were there last night, and thank you all for attending, it's for me, it's one of the happiest days of the year. You get to see young people as they complete one portion of their life and begin to venture to the next one. And it's just exciting for me, and that the fact that all of us here are a part of that. And the board members that were there, they felt it. They saw that. I could see it on your faces last night. It's exciting. And after both graduations at John P. Stevens High School and this high school, staff members, parents, and a few occasions students and administrators came up to me and asked if we could do this again on our fields. And the feedback that I got today, again, it only happened yesterday. We didn't have our debriefing afterwards because there were some changes that I would like to make regardless. But I think that's a consideration. It was lovely, and the only thing that happens when we elect to do that is, as you said, we're a slave to the weather, and you know, sometimes you have to work in those contingencies. That's not a decision for me to make. That's for the board and for our community, but I think it's something we would consider. And there is a cost associated with the rack that we obviously wouldn't pay if we didn't go there. Regarding the Chartwell's employees, in my memory, I don't know if we've ever changed the food service vendor since I can remember. So I don't know what the process would be here, but I did work in other districts where we did change food service vendors. And typically the employees are the same ones that they would hire. You know, they don't come typically with their own employees except for the upper level management and the chefs and things like that. So my expectation would be whoever the board chooses and selects to be our food service provider is that it would be the same employees, and it's usually the same exact pay or very similar. And the out-of-district students, yeah, we were referring to, and I don't want to speak for Mr. Shi, but I think we were referring to the students that are attending our district and don't presently reside in the district. So if we have our attendance investigators, which we have 4, you'll see there's 1 appointee on the agenda tonight to replace Miss, I call her Mika, who retired or resigned. Their job is to investigate people that don't live here. And if we do find people that don't live here, that are being transported and educated here illegally, that would be the charge that we would, the tuition rate we would charge them on a daily basis. I think I got it all.
Yeah. So I just want to add for the air quality, if you look at the agenda items, we are looking into air conditioning the auditorium here, the cafeteria here, and also the cafeteria at J.P. Stevens. Okay? So you will see on the agenda, and there will be committee minutes talking about that. So yeah, as far as the rack, I remembered rack did not have air conditioning before. Well, we actually had the graduation in the rack when the rack had no air conditioning. We happened to pick the hottest day in the summer. I think some of the folks could attest that. So let's see. Yesterday was a beautiful day. You know, so let's see if we can do it over here. But let's see. All right. So any other? Yeah.
I know I thought it was going to take me longer to get Crystal, Middlesex County. I just want to say The primary's over. We all know, some of us know up here, Sam Joshi's campaign was weaponized hatred and racism. Let's hope we can move on from that. Last time I came here, Jerry, you there? Last time I came here, I mentioned about Sam Joshi and Yash Pandya wanting to put kids on contaminated property. You had integrity, you said the truth when it was time to reply. I hope you have say the truth again, because the last time I was here, then we have other government officials coming up to cover up for Sam Joshi, claiming, oh, this never happened. We all saw the flyers. All the board members saw the flyers during his campaign. He wanted to put the kids at the Kilmer site, that we know it's contaminated. I'm gonna move on. I want to talk about the 2019 racist flyers on Muslim people. That's not the same as the racist flyers that got mailed out. No one wants to, these are truly racist flyers. They're legitimately racist flyers. No one wants to investigate it, but we investigate what I thought to be campaign flyers disguised as racist flyers. These flyers, right, oh, someone left their phone up here, I'm not gonna touch it.
That's Joyce, right?
Is
Joyce's
it?
phone?
Maybe, or it could be Maria's, but this is what it said. Save our kids' future in Edison School. Peace or jihad in Edison. Do we need halal food to serve our kids in our Edison schools? Good, I got 4 minutes. Think, do we need Pakistan-supported candidates in Edison schools? Better education or terrorist mentality candidate? The last one I agree with. I'm not going to read that one out. So yeah. Excuse me 1 second. Absolutely. So yeah, absolutely disgusting. Bash in Pakistan. Do you endorse this, Jerry Shee? Does the Board of Education endorse this? This was more BOE flyers, but at the end of the day, I asked 3 times for the no integrity town council to investigate these. Not once did they want to investigate it. They didn't even investigate the last one. The last one they just used to go after their opponents nonstop. Absolutely disgusting. I want to say this. Councilman A.J. Patil used to own a share and tap into Edison. No one can deny that. He used to own a share and tap into Edison. Baral, Shivi, you guys should know. Maybe you guys did some work with Tap into Edison, along with Krushan Patel. It's believed that Krushan Patel created these, okay? Member of the Indian Business Association, Councilman Sam Joshi's friend. More of Sam Joshi's people sending out racist flyers. I would like the council to say something about that. I'd like Baral and Shivi to comment on their time and Tap into Edison, what they know about these flyers. I'm sure they know a lot more than I know about these flyers, I'll tell you that right now. Still got 2 minutes left. Yeah, when I come, I'm a lifelong Edison resident. I went to Edison schools all my life. Still an Edison resident, so when I come to a public meeting wanting to talk about how Sam Joshi had plans to put kids on contaminated property, I do not want a freaking government official from the EDO, oh, she's not even an EDO member. Anyways, I don't need no government people to come up here and say I'm lying when I'm saying the truth. What kind of bullshit is that? Jerry, have some integrity and let's talk today. I want you to answer the question. Did Sam Joshi and Yash Pandya want to put kids on contaminated property and what that property is contaminated with? I'd like any member up there to talk about if they seen the flyer that Sam Joshi created to put the kids on contaminated property, have integrity, admit it. I know at least 3 of you, at least 4 at least. Maybe you all know about it. Most of you won't even say nothing about it. So yeah, I think it's absolutely disgusting. We have town council people in here right now. I hope the town council people can investigate real racism, investigate real racist flyers. Not only this came from A.J. Patil, Councilman A.J. Patil's Tap into Edison, Councilman A.J. Patil's tenant sent out the racist flyers before that. And still no one on the town council, and when I asked them to investigate whatever. You know what the government people say? I'm being manipulated, I'm being paid off. Absolutely zero integrity from some of these elected officials. I will wait to come up here for, I'm sorry, you got something to say? Anyone back there got something to say? No? All right. No integrity. If you're gonna vote this upcoming, if you're a Republican and you want to vote, the only Republican on the Edison ticket is Tally Epstein. Do not vote for the rest. Paella Almeida is Sam Joshi's best friend's sister. If you want to vote for a real Republican, you can vote for the chairman of the Middlesex County Young Republicans, which is me. But Jerry, I'm going to change. I'm going to make a bylaw the next meeting. You're not going to even call me chairman. It's going to be boss of bosses or the Godfather. I don't like the name chairman. It sounds like a CEO.
Your time is up. Your time is
All
up.
right.
Your time's up. Time's up. I'm not gonna comment on campaign stuff because this is not the right forum. Okay. So if you want to talk about the property, the board did hire an independent third party to conduct a test, and that was probably 6-7 years ago, and we saw the results, and. At that time, it was a unanimous decision not to build a school there. So that was, I'm not gonna go back and forth with you, but that's what my understanding is, okay? As far as the other campaign stuff, I'm not gonna comment, I'm not gonna talk about endorsing, whatever, but the fact is, we do have halal food in our district, and, Edison High School was the pilot school that we had halal food. During this food vendor bidding process, we did brought up the issue of ethnic food, because we do have a lot of students who are vegetarians and stuff. The vendors were accommodating, so our participation rate is very low. We want to see if that by changing the menus, we can increase participation. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to put anything with campaigns or anything, all right?
Jerry, can I say something?
Yes.
So I just wanted to talk about the Kilmer property. We had a township liaison committee meeting last week, and the Mayor Lanke was in that meeting, and we asked him the same thing about the Kilmer property and the contamination. And he said that the township had done an extensive study on the contamination, and he had said that he was going to share the report with the Board of Education. And he also said that from his memory, he doesn't recall if that was something that could not be cleaned up or rectified, but we will have to wait to see the actual report and read it to make sure that that is true. So at this point, we are waiting for that report from Mayor Lanke's office.
There's no, come on, there's no. Crystal.
I'm just giving you information.
Crystal, no back and forth. No back and forth. Okay? No back and forth, okay?
Jerry?
Yes.
Hi. All right. Actually, what the mayor said, there are two reports. There's one study, for contamination. There's another environmental study. So right now, they're both being looked into. So right now, we have to wait a little bit. So we're just asking for patience. Thank you.
Okay. All right, next. Yes.
Brian Rivera, Stony Road. First of all, I just want to say hello to everybody and welcome back. The first thing I want to say is congratulations to the graduating class of J.P. Stevens and Edison High School. As a proud graduate of Edison High School, these people molded me very well, and my brothers. My older brother was the he was the second in his class here in Edison High, and the first person from Edison High to go to Princeton University. And my two brothers, me and my twin brother actually went to Rutgers and very successful too. So very thankful to the Edison Public Schools. The other thing I want to recognize is congratulating to all the senior classes, especially Perth Amboy Public Schools, where I work. God bless you all. I hope all the seniors and all do well. But I want to get to this agenda. The first thing I want to say is this is lengthy, and half of it I don't even know what it is. So I don't know if in the future maybe this could be broken down or a little bit more information given. So I'm going to just try to do my best to ask these questions. If they're dumb questions, I apologize. It was hard to understand, even with some of my friends that I shared it with. So the first question with the adoption of the plans, I know there's 3 plans that you're approving. The one that I'm really interested in seeing is the pandemic plan, so I'm wondering if that's going to be shared. Also, Dr. Bregan, when you were going over your report, you listed a bunch of names going from 7 to 16. I believe you're the Oprah guy. That's what I heard last. I was just curious in the agenda for next week, the names are going to be listed and what are the credentials to have those positions. The other thing also, meeting date change. All you guys need is quorum. I hope there's a reason why the date is being changed, but as long as you have quorum, the date shouldn't be changed. So, you know, if Mr. Shi can't make the meeting, that's why Mr. Patel is there. He's the vice president. He just steps in. So just keep in mind the schedules of the public and the people that attend these meetings, because that could affect it. But again, as long as you have quorum, you could have a board meeting. The other thing I had no idea was what's the designation of Admin Partners LLC? I have no idea what that is, so I was curious what that was. None of my friends knew what that was either.
I'm sorry, which one? I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Number 7 on item 4 in the business administrator, designation of admin partners. I have no idea what that is. Transfer of funds, I was wondering what are the transfers, how many transfers are there, transfer to current year surplus, how much money got transferred to capital reserve. Also, I saw a bid renewal. I'm guessing those are individuals that have been working with the district, so we're just renewing with them. But then I see all these appointments, so I was just curious to make sure that there was RFPs done for all of them. And I saw appointments in specific architects, what are the projects that they are particularly working on. I saw amendment on on-site clinic services. What is the amendment? And then texts from my friends and what I hear in the public. The first thing I'm going to say is, because it just came right now because they're watching the board meeting, and how this comes from a teacher in the district. I am disgusted how the Board of Ed meeting that they have blown off comments about the classrooms being too hot because of no AC. So, again, I went here years ago, and it seems like it's the same exact buildings 25 years ago. There's still no AC. So I'm asking, thank God you didn't go with Suez, because I know they want to do that, but keep them out of Edison, please. But please look into use capital reserves into putting some air conditioning in our buildings. You know, this is like the 20th century, and we still have no AC in these buildings. Like, I don't get it. The other thing I want to talk about is food services. So I was listening here and just listening to comments being made in the public and the board. I'm assuming you guys are going with another food services, just based on comments. So my question is, why are we going with another food services? Second thing I want to say is, when I was texting my business administrator friend, that should have been put in way before June 15th. That's a state contract. It should have been approved by the board by the 15th. So I don't understand why we're having this discussion now. This should have been done a long time ago. The other thing I want to make sure is, I'm happy with the waiver that we're getting another year of free food for our families. You know, are we providing food for the summer as well? Perth Amboy, we're offering food services for coming out of every building. We're working with the city as well to give our families foods for the summer. You know, again, this was hard times for everybody, so I just want to make sure. And that's about it by now. If you didn't get any of my questions, I could repeat. I know sometimes my questions doesn't get answered, and I got 35 seconds. If anybody got any questions.
All right, so let's try to answer that. Dr. Burgin, want to go?
Absolutely. The RFP for Boards of Education for food services, I'm not sure who your business administrator is, but they revised the form this year and it had to be state approved. And the state revised form didn't come out till, we didn't get an approval of that or notice of that until March. We then put our application in and we went back and forth. I think it was 3 iterations, Mr. Brennan, I believe.
Yes.
And we were not allowed to put out the RFP until the state approved it. As soon as the state approved it, we did submit it. We do have a deadline extension to June 30th, so it's well within the parameters. It's been approved by the Executive County Superintendent and the Executive County BA, so it's perfectly appropriate. And the reasons for changing, there were concerns about the food quality, about the food distribution, a number of issues that occurred over time. And also, what I think we've experienced is when one company's been doing one thing for a very long time, sometimes they get complacent. I'm not making any accusations or saying anything negative about the current vendor, but it's always good to go out, see what's out there, see if we can do better, see if we can get a cost, a better reimbursement for the district, and kudos to the board for doing that. So when that decision is made to make that change, that's the board's prerogative. It's well within the timelines. So again, that information you presented was not 100% accurate. Regarding transfers and dollars and monetary amounts, I think Mr. Biro Patel did ask about some of the money that would be left at the end of the year and when we would transfer that to our capital reserve account, which we said would be not to exceed $15 million. We did mention that. The other transfers and line item transfers are to balance the budget because often during the course of the school year, you budget so much in this account and, because you may have more substitute teachers that year or whatever that line item is, you go over, so you transfer monies from maybe the electric and gas account where it wasn't as cold in winter, you have a little more money. That happens every board meeting, and those are not normally discussed at the caucus meeting because they're contained in the agenda items. Regarding the change of the board meeting, I asked for the board meeting to be changed. We needed more time to close out some of our accounts. We have an interim BA who's not here on a regular basis. We lost our BA who was here for 34 years. I've helped oversee that office. Needed to put some things together so I could have the appropriate answers in the transfers and have all the dollar amounts right. So there's a perception out there that somehow Mr. Shi orchestrated this for some nefarious reason. I orchestrated it. I asked for approval to do it. So whoever is giving you that information is not accurate. If you have an issue with the change in the board meeting, you can call me and come to my office and I'll show you why exactly I requested it. I requested that we do this for the board. If the board said we couldn't do it, then we couldn't do it. And we did do all the proper notifications for a public meeting in accordance with the New Jersey Administrative Code. The pandemic plan, as it has been since last August, it's been updated regularly. It's on our website. Regarding the annual appointments, every year, almost every Board of Education that I'm aware of does their annual reappointments for vendors, for professional services, for things like that, and it is usually very lengthy. And rather than have that spread out over the course of the year, I don't know why you would do that, but you do it at the end of the school year so people are set up to go for the next year. That's all I had on my notes.
Mentioning about architects, what are they going to do? And outside clinical service?
The architects, the board decided to have 2 architects. It came out of the Finance and Facility Committee meeting to be more competitive. Right now, the USA architecture firm is working on the Lincoln Addition project, which we hope to award. It's on the agenda for the 29th board meeting to award the contractor to start construction, and we hope to have that addition ready for occupation September of 2022. Right now, USA is also orchestrating a modification to John P. Stevens Library to make more of a cafeteria eating space for when the students return in September. And we have the DMR architecture's firm working on some proposals and things. As I mentioned earlier, one was the J.P. Stevens, the viability of the potential turf field there. They and USA Architects are working on proposals for a potential Innovation Career Academy High School that I've mentioned. Again, it's very preliminary, but just fleshing out and sketching some ideas. Both of them are doing that so that we bring that to the Finance and Facility Committee meeting. It's competitive, and we'll choose the one that we think meets our needs best. Currently, the DMR firm is also working on our roofing projects. There's 3 roofs that we'd like to put out to bid. As you know, we have 19 buildings, as I said earlier, except for James Monroe. They're all 50 years or older, and they have large roofing areas, and we try to do sections each year that are most in need, that have leaks or have outlived their useful life and are no longer under the warranties when they were purchased. So we're working on that right now. I think I covered most of that.
Yeah. I have one answer for you. You've inquired about the Admin Partners LLC, and that's basically an agent that executes on its behalf vendor agreements relative to 403Bs and 457s for the employees.
Yeah, one of the answers to Mr. Rivera's question about the food services, we are in end of June. So Dr. Bragan did inform over the dates, so I don't know what those dates are. So he may be correct, obviously. I trust his judgment on the dates part, but it is still very late, because if we are anticipating to change food, a lot of children rely on that one meal. Nutrition is the most important part. It is very late in the game to do that. Oh yeah, the summer meals. What are we going to do about summer meals, Dr. Bragan?
I'm sorry?
Summer meals.
Free food for the summer.
We're not offering that for this summer due to the transition. We did offer it last summer. It was not very well received. I can get you the actual distribution.
So we need to find a solution for that, because we cannot have the children of our district live without that particular meal this entire summer. So we need to talk inside
Okay.
about that.
All right, so we hope we answered all the questions. Yeah, Tony?
So this first question is actually to the board members. Since the Code of Ethics does not pertain to, as far as I know, Dr. Bragan or the board administrator, but it's just the administration. I'm sorry, the BA, but it's the board members. So it says here in the Code of Ethics on line C, I will confine my board action to the policy-making, planning, and appraisal, and I will help to frame policy and plans only after the board has consulted those who will be affected by them. So the key thing I want to look at there is those who will be affected by them. So my question is, because it seems like we're changing vendors, why did the committee who is working on this not consult with the parents or the children that are going to be affected by the food services? Why is it that it's left up to whatever it is, 4 or 5 people on the committee who actually aren't even eating the food in the cafeterias? Why is it your prerogative to just make that decision without even taking surveys from the students? And you've known, obviously, you're going to be doing this change for a while. Why would you not take it upon yourselves to send out surveys? You've been sending out surveys throughout the whole year on other things with the pandemic. So I think it's just, I don't understand that process, that these 4 or 5 people who don't even eat the food on a daily basis take it upon themselves to just be the ones to make this decision. So that's something that I'm just unsure about. And I know there were some parents in a Facebook group that actually voiced that, and that's kind of where that came from. They were wondering why. We know there was complaints on some of them. Some people complained. Obviously, it wasn't all 17,000 kids in the school district who complained. But why, again, when you have the capabilities of sending out surveys for other stuff, would you not consult with those that will be, as it says in the code, which is, according to what I know, is state law, and you agree to it? And of course, it's probably open to interpretation, which would be the answer to that. But my interpretation would be that if the kids are affected by that, you would at least give the respect to the parents to voice their concerns about changing. And again, I understand what Dr. Bragan said, it's good to go out there and look, and I have no problem with any of that. I think it's good to look for other companies. But it's also good to get input from the parents on what they need. And that's something I really, really think that you guys should consider. Because again, as I have said in the past many times, you want to build trust with the parents, include them in decisions that you make. Make them think and feel that you have a concern for their decisions on what their child is eating, not just 5 people who are just going to do a taste test or whatever and just say, okay, we're going to go with this company or we're going to go with that company. I really think you really need to consider for the future that you need to really get input from the parents. It will help the school district and it will help you guys as a board. The other thing I want to do is I want to honor the teachers this year through this whole pandemic. And I just have to say that, and this is including staff and everybody who's been a part of, all the schools and the education, because, it's been a tough year for everybody, parents, kids, and, the teachers, and I know it's from my wife who was a teacher, it takes a lot for them to continue teaching through this type of situation that they were through. It's a lot of work, a lot of extra time that they're doing, and I just want to thank each one of them. We had a party for my special needs son and some of his children, and some of the teachers actually took time out to actually come to his party also, and I just think that's just honorable for teachers to be able to do that. And I just want to leave all the board members with this also. You guys are basically a boss of all the teachers. And I think just to keep the respect between the board and the teachers is that you be careful what you say in public. I don't care if it's social media, I don't care where it is, but please don't demean the teachers by saying that they should be having certain special testing, or that some children reported to a board member that some teachers are racist. This is just not good for the district, the teachers. It's just something that I think that if somebody were to say that, there should be a public apology to the teachers for that being said. Because again, you guys are the boss of the teachers. And if this happened in the corporate world where I work, there would be a lot of trouble for that one person who made it public that one of the employees were saying, this person's racist. So again, please think about what you say in public about teachers. Say whatever you want behind the scenes, but in public, please be careful. Thank you.
You want to address?
Mr. Shea, yeah, can I have some?
Yes, please.
First, Tony, I would agree that the teachers are the reason for our success and for most of the success of all our students. I think the board, as well as myself personally, value everything that they do and recognize the humongous, difficult task they had this year in trying to navigate all the different changes we had, trying to teach students online, in person, and some derivation of both of those during the entire school year. I've said this before. I've said this when we had 100 teachers in the room. I am the superintendent, but I am a teacher. I'm a teacher at my core. I came to this job because I love working with children. I was there last night, and couldn't be more happy to watch our kids walk across the stage. It's a culmination of everything that we do. And it would not be possible if we had the best superintendent, the best principals in the world without the greatest teachers. I applaud them every day for what they do because it's a hard job and it's also a rewarding job, and it's a job of the utmost responsibility that you and the rest of our 17,000 parents of our students entrust us, all of us, with your most valuable resource on a daily basis. I say that to every teacher that we interview and we hire, that don't ever take that responsibility lightly, because I'm a parent, as you are, and it's the most valuable thing we have, and they're giving it to us for 7 hours every day. And our teachers are great. They handle it with care, they deliver a high-quality product, and at the end, they are what we do, and the core of what we do. And every one of these board members, while I don't know them intimately, I know them professionally since my time here. They spend numerous hours. This meeting tonight may run till midnight. I don't know. That's not uncommon for us to have the discourse behind closed doors, discuss the topics that matter. And to somehow imply that they don't care about the students, I'm going to tell you right now, that's not accurate. While they may disagree and don't have the same beliefs on different issues, all 9 of these people are here because of the kids. I witness it, I see it, and I believe it. I wouldn't say it if I didn't believe it. So I think that perception is not fair, and it's yours, you're entitled to it, but I don't think it's accurate. Regarding surveying the parents for food service, I don't need a survey when I walk in a cafeteria to see what's supposed to be a slice of pizza and I can't delineate what it is. I don't need a survey to know that the quantity of food and the caliber of the fruits and vegetables served when I walk in the cafeterias is subpar. I don't need to survey 17,000 people to tell me what my eyes, my nose, and my taste buds tell me. It was time for a change. You could say it wasn't, you could do all that. I'm in the buildings almost every day. Our participation rates are 36%. 36%. That's including free and reduced lunch, where students, maybe that's the only meals they can get. That's unacceptable. And I don't need a survey to tell me that. I have the numbers. There's also a piece to this, as you said, Tony. The administration of the school is for the administrators. The board can't do anything unless me, the chief academic officer, recommends it. They could tell me, no, Bernie, we're not doing that. Or they could say, yes, that's the right thing to do, and they endorse it. And they do that. We have those discussions, and they don't always all agree. That's the American process. It's a democratic process. And people get caught up in this idea that somehow there's a leadership by consensus. We don't live in a democracy. We live in a representative republic. These 9 people were elected by the community to speak and work on their behalf. Not to do a poll or a consensus for every decision they make. Nothing would ever get done. These people are charged with doing the right things for the children of this district. If you feel they're not doing the right things, vote them out. Nonetheless, I think it was the right thing to do to go for the food service. We wanted to do it last year. The pandemic hit. There was no way we could manage that with the way the timing. We went totally remote. I think it was March 15th. The Food Service Committee was talking about this since I've been here in December of 2019. So I understand people's frustration. I understand people's desire to stay with the status quo, because that's easy. Everybody likes what we're used to. Doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. And I applaud the board for making the decision to look at it. They haven't decided which they're going with, but they made the decision to see what's out there. And then they'll decide on what we're going to do moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. First timer? Yes, Beth?
Jerry, can I add something?
Yes.
Just in response to that?
Yeah, get closer.
Yeah. And before Dr. Bergen was here, there was a survey for food. I don't know what happened to that survey, but the reason we did that survey is because we constantly hear comments from all the parents. We receive pictures from parents about the lunch. There's soggy vegetables, expired milk, weird tasting apples. You should go, if you go to the cafeteria, you see the trash can, you can see how much food was thrown away because the kids won't eat them. And I can't say how many pictures, comments I received from all the parents complaining about the food in the last 3 years. This is the reason that I can't agree that we are not getting consultation or getting feedbacks from the parents. We are. The board are getting the feedback from the parents. That's the reason we are changing. We're considering changing the food vendor. And even in last year, how many times the children, we are open for 6 weeks, how many times there were 30% of the students in the school, and there were many times the children doesn't have the lunch. They don't even have lunch when they're about to leave the school. They're supposed to carry the lunch with them to go back to their homes, and they don't have lunch. This is how bad it is. So to say that we are not getting feedback or we're not consulting the parents, that's not a fair comment. I just want to say, explain that. Thank you.
Yeah, Beth.
Hi, Beth Talke. First thing, I watched the graduations last night. I thought they were wonderful. I thought even just from watching at home, they had a community feel to them. I appreciate it. I'm a graduate, J.P. Stevens, many, many moons ago. My graduation was on the football field, and my graduating class was 585 kids back in the day. And my 3 children themselves all were graduates from J.P. Stevens as well, but at the RAC. I felt just from watching last night's graduation, it did have that community, hometown kind of feel, and it was more intimate, kind of as cold as it was at the RAC. So yes, I would like to kind of see that again. I know you're, dependent on the weather, but I thought it was, very, very well done, and kudos to Pat for the video of it. I just thought it was very great. I thought the students who all gave their speeches did wonderful. They were heartfelt, and it just, it was a very good job. So kudos to everybody for that. I know the food services is a hot topic. I work in the schools, I see it. I will say in my school, thank gosh, what I have seen, the food has been good. I welcome you to look for other vendors and stuff. I'm just a little bit concerned just hearing now that these kids won't be fed or food won't be available to them this summer. I get it, last year maybe there wasn't as much participation, but that was also the beginning of the pandemic. This pandemic has been going and going, and now families are hurting. I've had kids in my classes this year, that breakfast and the lunch was the only meals that they were getting. Now school's over, I'm concerned about it. I understand that you guys want to make a change. You want, better food, better product. But I'm concerned for these kids, whether it's 10 families, 100 families, 1,000 families out of these 17,000, I don't care what it is that participates, we should be providing food. I'm under the assumption that the federal government is still giving us money for this free food, even through the summer till the end of next year. What's going to happen with that money if we're not providing food for these kids? So I'm concerned about that. I understand you guys want to make a change. People did complain, and I know there was also complaints, I'm on Facebook too, about the amount of food. The amount of food is also dictated by the government as to how big these meals and the proportions can be for these kids. Might not be the most appealing food, but for some of our kids, that's all they get, and I'm very, very concerned about hearing now that this summer we're not providing for these kids. So if there's, something we can do and work out, like does our vendor stop June 30th and the next one's not starting till September 1st? Chartwell's might not have the best food, but I know over the years they provided also upgrading of our kitchen facilities in the high school as well as in some of the elementary schools. I'm just curious as a taxpayer, are these new companies coming in going to continue to do that? Are they also capable of feeding 17,000 kids a day, 2 meals a day? Maybe Chartwell's had bumps in the road last year, but think about how many meals they provided for our community. And last summer, it wasn't just necessarily our students, remember? It was their whole families. If they had kids at home, they could take what they needed. I don't care if it's 10 family or 100, we have to make sure that these babies aren't hungry even over this summer. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for those comments. I was going to say Mrs. Nichols, but shame on me, I'm going back in time. The money from the federal government, just so everyone's on the same page, they don't give us money and say, here, go use this for providing food. It's a reimbursement for the meals that are prepared and that are served. So there wouldn't be money sitting out there. But I hear your concern. I heard Mr. Biro Patel's concern. We'll take a look at that for the summer options. Regarding the money for kitchens, that's actually the district's money. When the food service vendors put in for their proposals, one of the things is how much is the guaranteed reimbursement to the district. And in the past, there was a number that we had guaranteed for that. And when we put this RFP out, we didn't list the number. We didn't list that a required guarantee. And the people that put in for it actually provided a much higher number. So that was part of the board's consideration too. And that those monies can only be used for renovating kitchen equipment and things like that. So, you know, at J&P, we need a kitchen. That's one of the things we want to work on is we just upgraded the one at Washington Elementary School. Those monies are actually from the district that gets put back into it and it has to get put back into the kitchens.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes.
Good evening, Dr. Bragan and board members, Padmaja Chinta. First of all, I want to say what a pleasure it was to see the class of 2021 have a full, proper graduation ceremony. The full ceremony was much missed last year, so I really appreciate the work of everyone in making this happen so nicely. So thank you all for that. Then I have maybe 2 or 3 things I wanted to mention. The first is, because we're talking about food vendors, and I'm not familiar with the process, so I'm just curious if before the district finalizes the food vendor, do the kids get to sample the food and approve its quality by any chance? And then my other question is about AP Spanish. I know I had asked this a few meetings ago, and Dr. Bragan, you had mentioned that there is a possibility of introducing AP Spanish in the high school, notwithstanding the shortage of Spanish teachers. And I'm just wondering if any progress has been made towards that. Then the last thing I want to talk about is about Steamworks. As you all know, several parents received unsolicited campaign emails from Steamworks, who I understand is or was a actor, and parents were wondering how it all came about. Then we saw a news article where Steamworks executive basically acknowledged that it was one of their own people who was responsible for the breach. So I was very surprised to read that. Obviously, data breach is everywhere these days. It's awful enough when the breach happens through the actions of a third party over whom an organization has no control. But when the organization that is responsible for maintaining the integrity of the personal information itself is committing the breach, it's simply not acceptable. And it doesn't matter what the purpose for which the improper use of the information was made for. It was for campaigning this time, could be something else next time. It was 1 or 2 schools this time, it could be some other schools next time. It was this particular vendor or company this time, it could be someone else next time. I hope we all can agree that when parents share their personally identifiable information, emails, etc., with an after-school provider, that provider is required to maintain the integrity of that information and use it only solely for the purpose for which it was shared. I understand the district was looking into this. I would like, if you can explain what came out of that. If this particular vendor is going to be blacklisted or given some other consequence, so we can send a message to any vendor or company that there is zero tolerance to breach of personal information in this district. And if that's not going to happen, I would just like to know why not. Thank you very much.
Process of food vendor.
Yeah, regarding the food vendor, having the students sample the foods, that's not something we have traditionally done. Logistically, it might be difficult, but that's something to consider, something to look into. The AP Spanish, accept my apologies. I don't have an answer for you, but I will. I'll have it tomorrow. I don't have it, and it slipped my mind, so I apologize for that. The Steamworks vendor, we did look into that. I was alerted to that information that they had contacted parents via email. I contacted the president of that company, and I spoke to him. They didn't send information through any of our district email or email addresses or any of our email and computer devices. Parents that had signed up for their classes, were they after school this summer, I don't remember, and had provided their information. Hey, this is Bernie Bragan's personal email. My daughter's going here, and this is how you're going to communicate with me about the camp, so on and so forth. And I guess they maintained that list after that, right? They kept it, and they sent out, they may have sent out other things that weren't political. I don't know, trying to solicit business or whatever. I don't know that. So the president of that company assured me that he didn't use anything that wasn't provided to him by the parents. So I contacted our board attorney, not Mr. Rupp, Mr. Shadanian, who couldn't make it tonight, and asked him legally, what are the parameters? Because, we can't take action unless it's aligned with the law. And he said two things. He said, listen, if Bernie Bragan as a parent wants his or her child to go to this camp, and I give them my information, I've given that information to them. If that company then wants to send out a political or solicitous flyer for anything, that's up to that company. I can't tell them what to do or what not to do. I don't have the right to do that. Our parents that participate in the camp, maybe they didn't anticipate getting other information, and if that was me and it upset me, I would make sure I acted with my pocket and my wallet and not send my child back there again if I was personally offended by that. However, the idea that we can then ban this company from renting our space and using our schools, I ran that by the board attorney too, and he said you need to be careful with creating any type of blacklist, because now I'm penalizing someone for their political beliefs, and we could be held liable for that. So that's right where we left off. There hasn't been a board discussion since that time where we really went over it. I don't know if we've had a meeting since then. It's something we could talk about internally and see where we are in that, but it's not as easy as people would want it to just blacklist them because they did something that we didn't agree with. Because by creating that blacklist and a denial of somebody for their political beliefs or affiliations, think about that. That's that slippery slope. And this country wasn't formed on those beliefs as far as I recall from my history class.
Okay, thank you.
Can I add something? So I understand that if if parents are enrolling kids in the Streamworks camp at the Streamworks premises, I totally accept the argument. However, if the only place parents have shared that email is in a Edison School after-school program, then it is a problem because, parents have shared it, and I did write an email about this, where parents did reach out to me, and they told me that the only place that they shared that information was an after-school program in Edison schools. So then this argument does not apply, because then, anyway, we should talk about it, that's all I want to say.
I don't disagree with you. I just don't want to make that decision independently of consensus of the board or with the board attorney, is what I would say.
Okay, so, all right, do we have anybody else?
I just have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
People had asked about having children do a survey. I know when I was working, each school had a food service committee made up of students, and I know they periodically met, and the children voiced their opinions, pro or con, on certain of the foods. I don't know if that still occurs, but if it doesn't, maybe that is something that we need to reinstate, and then we would be getting the children's opinion. And no offense, what I would like versus what my child like may not be the same thing. I can remember years ago when I was on the food service committee, I actually met with one of the elementary school committees, and we sat and we looked at the monthly menu, and the children were picking out what they liked and what they didn't like, and I did not agree with any of their choices, but it's the children that are eating it and not the parents. So sometimes it's a little give and take. And I remember also in the past, there were meetings with the food service committee and the food service company. And I don't know under the conditions of the last year and a half if that has occurred, but that may be something also that we need to look into in the future to keep a control on what our food service company is providing for the children. And if the children have more of a say, we might actually increase the number of items that are purchased. So it's getting them involved and getting the parents more involved through the children that we need to do. And no offense, we need to decide each year. I know I do it with different things that I purchase, like insurance or any kind of contract that I get involved in. So it is a healthy thing to do. We just have to make sure that the company that is servicing us, and the only thing that I did hear personally, Dr. Bragan, that I'm kind of wishy-washy about is because of the transition, we might not be able to facilitate getting food out. So maybe it's something that we could reach out to the township and correlate it together. But if the food service company that gets chosen cannot accommodate us for a summer distribution of food, it makes me leery, what else can they not accomplish for us? So it's something that we need to think about. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Can I add something, Doctor? Yeah. Actually, I'm part of the food committee. We will definitely look into the summer program for our kids. We're not going to let them go hungry. So just keep in mind that we are looking out for our kids, and we will do something about it. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Joyce. Do I have a first-timers? Okay. Yeah, Joyce.
Two quick things. She reminded me of one when I spoke to another parent. They want to know that whether our school district will do ASL, American Sign Language. Some of the schools have adopted that in their high schools, and they have levels 1, 2, and 3. I mean, I came from a high school that actually offered that program. I think it's a very, very skillful program for them. And also, as talking about the food and the vendors, I'm concerned about the workers. You know what I mean? Everybody likes something different. I'm a picky eater myself, so I like to change every year, different stores I go to. So I worry exactly, will you keep the workers and keep them in their spot? And that's it. I want the ASL. And then the last big thing I want to talk about, baby boomers probably like this. On Sunday from 5 to 8, they will have a Motown band down on Amboy Avenue by 4th Street. Okay, so don't tell your friends, Motown's going to be there 5 to 8 on Saturday. Thank you very much.
Are you going to sing there?
Listen, I'm going to be dancing all, listen, I'm going to be dancing all over the place.
All right,
I
good.
love Motown.
All right, good.
Yeah, one thing about to add about the staff.
Can I have Dr. Bragan address the ASL first? Okay.
That was something, Ms. Shipp-Freeman, I didn't even think about. But yeah, we would definitely look into the American Sign Language. I think it's a great option for our students. The one thing I don't know, I have to find out if that counts as a foreign language requirement, if that would. I don't know. That might be something that they could take in lieu of a foreign language if that's what they want to learn. And the other thing is, I know from my experience in trying to secure interpreters and things for when we need them in the operation of our job, when we're dealing with people that have limited hearing, it's just really hard to find people that can even do that or that are certified if we could have enough success in finding staff. But I'll look into that. It's a great idea. Regarding the workers, I thought I said something earlier that we haven't really changed vendors here in quite a long time for food service, but I have been part of it in other districts. And typically, the food service workers are the same workers, and our workers are great. The women and men who work and deliver the food, they really do a great job. This is no indictment on them if there's a change in vendor. But our expectation would be that they would use the same employees.
I just want to add that, that I hope that will address your concern is one of the presentation in there, what they talked about is once they're selected, they will be interviewing these workers to see if they're going to fit with their company. So the intention is to keep as many as they can. So I hope that there will be a smooth transition because it's better for everybody. For us, it's for them as well. So that's what they want to do.
Last thing, Doctor, I met a lady from the Edison school system. She only needs 60 more credits and then she'll be certified in ASL.
Okay. Well, look into it. Yeah.
I'll let you know who the person is.
Okay.
To add to the food, so Joyce, good point, and it's very important, very essential that our staff members, all the staff members, they don't get hurt in the process, right? Most essential. and everyone talked about the children's summer food. Since pandemic started, a lot of us understand the importance of food. It's very hard for a lot of children to get that one meal on the table. A lot of children struggle, a lot of families struggle. If we take away that meal from the children, it will be devastating. It's the worst thing we can do. There is no way in the world we can let our children go by without that meal. And I take it very personally, very seriously, and we have to make sure by all means that's the number one priority. Now, in terms of ethnic and diverse foods, when we went over the presentations, mostly a lot of vendors these days, they cater to that, and that's very important. And we have a diverse and ethnic population, and that's one of the important criteria. But many of the vendors, they cater to that. So I'm hoping that all the vendors they accommodate that. So the selection criteria should not be like one over other. Now, the most important thing we should address in terms of the services is how they will rectify the current issues that we have. Right? Because that's the whole purpose that we are doing this is because of the current issues. If the new vendor is not capable of serving the district of size of Edison, that's not going to help. So that's very important. That's one of the most important criteria that we have to understand and consider, that they have to be able to cater Edison. Now, in terms of participation rate, yes, the numbers. I don't know what the numbers of the other districts
36% before the COVID.
Right? So
36.
Now, if we offer, in my opinion, from I just talked with few people in the community, if we offer children choice of food, it's pizza, and nuggets, right? So the choice of food is important, but at the same time, the quality, the nutrition, because the nutrition is very important. We cannot play games with children's nutrition. A lot of children rely on this food, and those parents who would be encouraged by the participation by some menu choices, it's also important to know whether the children will be willing to. So I've heard some public comments whether the children will be willing to participate with different food. It's not necessary that if a child eats an applesauce at home, they're going to eat that at school. It's not necessary. They have their choices. So involvement of the community is a very important criteria. And the only thing I would reiterate again to Mr. Rivera's point, this should not have been rushed, but here we are. But now is the time we make a very, very important, crucial decision, but we make sure the quality is maintained. At the same time, they should be able to handle the district. Next year, a lot of people are going to participate in the food services program. Now, that's another thing I wanted to ask Dr. Bregan. Next year, when the food is free, is it like the parents going to enroll in the beginning of the year, or we will be sending a choice survey like we did this year? Because what I'm concerned about here is if we give them a choice, right? If someone gives me a choice, what if I say, oh, you know what, might as well sign up. My child would love to eat the food. But then, if the child doesn't like the food, or for some other reasons that they don't want to eat that food, we don't want the food to get wasted either. So that's a very important decision that I think we should consider and make. Okay. How we decide for signing up the food service.
I think in the beginning, Mr. Patel, there may be some loss, right, until they get that sweet spot and find out how many meals on an average are going to be served. But no one will have to sign up for it. It will be free. So everyone that comes, there'll be additional charges if you want to buy the snacks or an additional drink or something like that. But the typical school lunch with all the components contained therein will be free to everyone. They want to sign up. You just have to show up, and there probably will be some waste the first couple of days till they figure out the exact number.
What I'm saying is, if someone signs up in the beginning of the year, which if we give an option, many will sign up. 3 months from that point, we don't know if they're really going to use all that food, or they will just make a choice. Today I want to eat, today I don't want to eat. So I'm concerned about the wastage.
We'll have to look into it. Good point.
Okay. Anybody else? Don?
Tony Pasquale, 2 Pine Street. So since some prior people brought up the Steamworks situation, to just pass it off as this company can do, whatever they want, which they can do. But again, perception is very important. And if you look who's sitting up there, You have one person that was actually on the political team that was supported by this Steamworks email. You have 2 other board members who outwardly supported this other team that was sent out by this company that was used by the school district. So I understand the lawyer, whatever the legal issues are with it are, that's fine. But again, perception is very important. And again, it's very important, as just as said before, it's very important to the parents and the Board of Education, okay? And when you have this type of situation where there's supposed to be no politics on the Board of Education, you do tie things together, and you can tie things possibly together, that this company was supporting a mayoral candidate that was supported by 2 board members, and there's also another board member who was on that team. So again, you need to be careful, okay? And I did not say before that the board members do not care, okay? But the perception is important if you want to have a relationship with the parents. If you don't, well, then that's your prerogative. But, again, you are all accountable and held accountable by us because we voted you in. You are held accountable for what you all do. And we have every right to bring out what we feel is not correct and what we feel as possible issues that we have with all of you. So I just want to end with that I will say again, and I've been saying this for 3 years, please be careful how you handle yourselves out in public. Please be careful with the possible connections that you might have or might be perceived to have. And if this is totally wrong, then it would be nice for people to negate that and say, yeah, no, we didn't have connections with anything. No, we denounced that was a possibility. I got support by the Republican Party back in the fall, and I was told, denounce that, denounce that. Well, we should have these board members denounce or just say there was no connection at all with this Steamworks. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes. Yes.
Love you all, but I still don't trust you. So first thing I want to say, Dr. Bragg, I love you, man. Every time I got something to say to you, you give me the answer I want to hear. I wanted to hear that extension, so I appreciate you knowing your job. Because again, if we didn't get that extension, we could have gotten a warning. They could withhold our reimbursement. They could have put us on corrective action plan. So I'm glad that I got a guy that knows what he's doing up front. So I appreciate you. I just want to say that. Again, I just sit here and listen, get texts. I say this all the time, and people hate that I say it, but it's true. They text me and I listen. So just listen with the food services thing. The only reason why I bring up food services is because I work in a district where it's 90% free and reduced lunch and breakfast. So I actually see the child that is hungry. I see it every day. And it's very sad. I wish some of you guys would spend some time in Perth Amboy Public Schools and see the population that we service, but this is a humble community and a community that needs assistance at times. So that's the only reason why I bring up the food services. I just picked it up here knowing that there's something going on. If there is a change in food services, we really need to look into summer programs. I'm a big proponent of the bilingual population here. I bring it up all the time regarding access testing and all that other stuff. So if anybody knows anything about me, that's the reason why I bring it up. I'm a big proponent of the bilingual population. Also, food services, just texting my friends, curious how many meals each company was servicing daily, was the cost of each meal, was the revenue back to the district. You know, that's all the business and finances things that I hope you guys are discussing. Again, group chat just brought that up and discussed that. The other thing was sitting there texting, hey, Brian, they never answered your AC question. Please, God, get us AC. So I'm going to say it for my people out there watching me. Please give our teachers and our students and any faculty member that works in the buildings without AC, please look into that. I urge the fact that we put money in capital reserve. Instead of giving it to the public, we got it, let's spend it, let's bring it back to our schools, let's put our schools where they need to be. Thank you very much, and I hope you all have a wonderful night.
Okay, thank you. All right, any more public comments? See none? Greg? We're gonna go to closed session. No.
Whereas Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances. Whereas this public body is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Township of Edison, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, as follows. The public shall be excluded from discussion of and action upon and the hereinafter specified subject matters. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. 1, student matters. Edison Wetlands Contract. Property purchase. Litigation brought by former employees and students. ETEA grievances, PERC, and unfair labor practices. And lastly, personnel matters. It is anticipated at this time that the above stated subject matter shall be made public at such time as a need for non-disclosure no longer exists. This resolution shall take effect immediately.
Roll call.
Jerry?
Can I have a motion, yes?
I just wanted to say something. He didn't say food. Are we discussing food or not?
No.
Oh, I thought that we were
You
going
want to
to...
add, you can add.
No, I thought...
You can add on the agenda item.
No,
if you want.
I thought you said we were going to discuss it. That's why
Well,
I thought...
you mentioned the specifics. We can share it with you.
Okay,
Okay?
that's fine. I thought
Yeah.
it was an oversight. That's why.
Was it?
It's not in there.
Yeah. If you want to discuss and add it on, it's not an issue.
And
You
we'll
wanna
also add the food service contract.
So let's add it on, okay? Yeah. All right. Do we need a motion to add the topic on or no?
No.
We need a motion to add the topic on?
Actually, the motion will be with that topic added,
Right.
so you don't have to have.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, all right, so that's good. Yeah, roll call. Do,
Motion to go into private.
yeah,
A second.
yeah.
Bureau Patel, okay. All right. Mr. Burrell Patel,
Yes.
Ms. White,
Yes.
Ms. Madakar,
Yes.
Ms. Podolsky,
Yes.
Dr. Chen,
Yes.
Ms. Conway,
Yes.
Ms. Peng,
Yes.
Mr. Mohim Patel,
Yes.
Mr. Shi.
Yes.
All
we-
yes.
We do not expect to come back, so see you guys on Tuesday over here, 7 o'clock. Thank you.